में नित्यानंद महागणपति नमः हट जीवेर कारण नादिया गोत्र में नित्यानंद महागणपति नमः हट जीवेर गदावांदन है गदावांदन है गदावांदन है गदावांदन है प्रभुर आज्ञा भय मागिए भिक्षा प्रभुर आज्ञा भय मागिए भिक्षा बोलो कृष्ण भजो कृष्ण करो कृष्ण शिक्षा आदेया गोत्र में नित्यानंद महागणपति नाम हट जीवेर कारण गोत्र में नित्यानंद महागणपति नाम हट अपराध शून्य होय तो है कृष्ण नाम अपराध शून्य होय कृष्ण माता कृष्ण पिता कृष्ण धन प्राण पिता नादेया गोत्र में नित्यानंद महागणपति नमः हट जीवेर कारण नादेया गोत्र में नित्यानंद महागणपति नमः हट मेरा संसार करो छाड़िया नाचार मेरा संसार करो छाड़िया नाचार जीवे गया कृष्ण नाम सर्वधर्म सार जीवे गया कृष्ण नाम सर्वधर्म नादेया गोत्र में नित्यानंद महागणपति नमः हट जीवेर कारण नादिया गोत्र में हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम रामा हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम दया गौरान्विताय दया गौरान्विताय गौरान्विताय श्री गौरान्विताय गौरान्विताय कलियुग पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की श्रील प्रभुपाद की समावेत गौर भक्त वृंद की ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशधारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. I am very grateful to all of you for giving me an opportunity to be with all of you today. I heard that this is the assembly of all the leaders from various places assembling together for having a discussion about who did what preaching in the previous part of the year, and in your own respective places you have a submission of the report, and very wonderful gathering of Vaishnavas. I feel at least online I am able to connect with all of you. It's a great blessing. I have prepared a PowerPoint based on one Prabhupada's letter, which I will share with you. 6 aspects of missionary spirit from one of the very famous letters of Srila Prabhupada. I will just show you the letter. This is the letter. We will not read the letter, but I have put it in 6 parts, which I will be showing you. So, each of these aspects is so important. I have highlighted some portions of the letter for you to be able to quickly grasp the vital points. The first point, Prabhupada says here, for our preaching mission to be successful, it must be carried on uninterruptedly. Internally, he says, here it is internally, and the next paragraph, if you see, is externally. So internally, what we should do, Prabhupada says, the preacher must maintain a strict program of sadhana to ensure that we will be steady in our purpose. There should be no gap where we lapse into Maya. And lapsing into Maya means becoming overcome by modes of material nature, isn't it? So, there are 2 things that makes us lapse into Maya. One is lethargy and laziness caused by tamoguna, unrestrained action caused by rajoguna. What is the meaning of this? Sometimes our bhakti becomes sluggish. We become slack in our practices, just like Bharat Maharaj became distracted by a deer and slowed down his devotional practices. Or there is unrestrained action due to mode of passion, like Dhruva Maharaj. Although he was very advanced devotee at one time, he was chasing after the yakshas. He was very active, but he was active in the wrong direction, which was stopped by Swayambhu Manu. Swayambhu Manu told him, Samyacha rosha badram te. My dear child, restrain your anger. Don't let it loose like this. You are a pure devotee and it doesn't befit you. And just for the sake of one yaksha, don't try to wipe out the race of yakshas. So, sometimes one may become very active in the wrong direction. Like, for example, karma prayas is one example. Atyahara prayasasya, or jnana prayas also. Over endeavor for karma or jnana. Sometimes we read too many books without grasping the essence of those books and applying those books in our life. Sometimes material life better. But the more we work hard, more it gets worse. So, therefore, the lethargy caused by ignorance and unrestrained action caused due to passion, they both can cause disruption in our continuous serving mode, he says. So, this will disqualify one from being a useful tool in the hands of Lord Chaitanya. So, let us be very careful, all of us devotees, that tamaguna, rajaguna did not distract us from our goal of constantly serving this moment. And how do we do that? By maintaining a strict morning program of sadhana, which includes a power-packed succession of Mangalarati, Narshangarati, Tulsi Arati, chanting, and Srimad Bhagavatam class. Let us become very strict in that. And then, that is all internal development. That's about internal development. Then externally, what he says, the preacher maintains a vigilant guard in his field of preaching. He looks for every opportunity to introduce Krishna consciousness. This constancy of purpose gradually wears down Maya's opposition and establishes the supremacy of Krishna. So therefore, we need determination to do that. I'm going to tell you a very simple, easy to remember example, which you'll never forget. Externally, what we should do, we should carry armor with us in one hand. That is like the vigilant guard in our field of preaching. At the same time, we have to introduce Krishna consciousness. That's like a sword. Do. And then when that fellow comes to attack, you have to show the guard like that. So that means we have to maintain a vigilant guard not to get hurt by the enemy. At the same time, we have to increase our penetration into the place where we wish to preach. So, therefore, remember two words in English. Don't isolate yourself, insulate yourself. Isolating ourselves means thinking that, oh, the whole world is Maya. If I go to preach, I will become drowned in samsara. I'll better not go out. I will just do my own bhajan. This is called as isolating. Insulating means, going in a bulletproof jeep into the public place. So we have to have a Maya-proof insulator around us, which is chanting of the holy name of Krishna and studying of Prabhupada's books, associating with devotees. This will put insulation around us and will ensure that we don't become trapped by Maya. Then we can go into the world of Maya and reach out books and reach out preaching. In this way, don't isolate yourself, but insulate yourself from Maya. Which means give association, don't take association. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, traveling in the same boat or bathing in the same ghat is not association, he says. Sometimes in Bengal, people bathe in the same ghat. That's not association. Or traveling in the same boat is not association. Association means three things. Spiritual discussion, knowledge transmission, heart transformation. This is association. That means, you should have some spiritual talk with others. And we should transmit some knowledge to them. And bring about a transformation of heart in them. A selfish person should become a selfless person. Cruel person becomes a compassionate person. Greedy person becomes a satisfied person. Lusty person becomes, a loving person. Angry person becomes a tolerant and calm person, isn't it? A non-devotee becomes a devotee. A rigid person becomes a flexible person. So you bring about a transformation of heart in people by bringing them one step closer to Krishna's lotus feet. That is preaching. So in this way, a preacher should maintain a vigilant guard in our preaching. Keep a sword with you. Sword in one hand and a guard in another hand. Don't get hurt when you go into the world of Maya. At the same time, don't stop penetrating deeper into the world of Maya and bringing more and more souls to Krishna. So this is a constancy in our determination. So two main points we learned in this first point. One is maintain a strict program of sadhana. Don't lapse into tamaguna, rajoguna. That was one point. Second point is this one I told you. Sword is preaching and penetrating. Same time not getting hurt. And further I told you, don't isolate yourself, insulate yourself. Yeah. Like, you are actually by chanting the holy name and spreading absorbing the holy flame, you are wearing a bulletproof jacket around you. You will not get harmed. So there's a constancy in your purpose. This is the first thing. Proper use of the word constancy. So uninterruptedly the preaching mission should go on. Some devotees, in the name of preaching, they slacken their reading and chanting program. They can't go on uninterruptedly. They will be like a flower pot. Flower pot? In Tamil we call it buswanam. You have this flower pot like this triangular one. You lit a fire, like that, that's all, finished. In a few seconds it will be over. We should not be like that. We want to be like 10,000 wala. You know that? 10,000 wala, you put one spark of fire, top, 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 just goes on and on and on and on. You're wondering, even after half an hour, it still keeps going on. So our devotion service, we want it to be like a 10,000 wala. Let it go on and on, not only till last breath, let it go on for eternity. So that is constancy. Let it go on uninterruptedly. So this is the first point. Let's go to the second point. Second one is overflowed, Prabhupada says. It is said that in spite of being at the confluence of the rivers of Ganga, Yamuna, Prayag, was never flooded until the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at which time the city was overflooded with love of Krishna. So here, there is a comparison of the overflowing of the river, Triveni Sangamam, that's compared to the overflowing of the love of God. I have highlighted some portions here. When the full moon of Lord Chaitanya appeared in the horizon of Bengal, the entire world became overflowed with the love of God. As Krishna is present where there are pure devotees chanting his name, similarly Lord Chaitanya is present where his pure devotees are propagating Sankirtan movement. You may be staying in Gulf or you may be staying in any part of the world. If you are propagating Sankirtan movement and chanting and reminding people of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya is personally present with you in that place. Yatra gayanti madbhakta tatra tisthami narada. So the geographic location does not matter. When Srila Prabhupada was in the hippie land, some hippies came to him and said, sorry Prabhupada, we have brought you to this hippie land, such a dirty place where people are drinking, smoking and stoned in drugs and all kinds of sinful habits they are leading. Prabhupada said, why do you say like that? This is Vaikuntha, Prabhupada said. And they asked, how? Because you all are chanting the holy name. Wherever people agree to chant the holy name, that place is Vaikuntha. So, in this way, he says, just as the flooding waters gradually spread out in all directions, covering all land, buildings, and people, similarly, the tidal wave of love of God inaugurated by the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will gradually cover the entire surface of the earth and force all the inhabitants to taste the nectar of devotional service to Krishna. The followers of Lord Chaitanya must be very expert at releasing the floodgates by the distribution of unlimited transcendental literatures describing the nectarian topics of Krishna. They should take care to see that no one is spared from receiving Mahaprabhu's mercy. This is a call for action for all of us. That means, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is releasing the flood for all the jivas. He is inundating the world, and we have to become instruments in his hands. And actually, at the current moment when we all are situated, this is the best time for preaching. You know why? Because Lord Chaitanya has just appeared 500 years ago. The next 9,500 years are called as a golden age, when the Bhakti Yoga, Sankirtan movement is going to go to the peak during this period. And we have come at a very momentous hour. In this situation, we don't have to do much because the current of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire is flowing like a fast flowing river. And added with that is the desire of the Acharyas like Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktivinoda Thakur and our Srila Prabhupada. Their desire has become blended with Lord Chaitanya's desire. And all of this is flowing like a very fastly flowing river current. Adding to that desire of very staunchly practicing, determined devotees who are faithful followers of Srila Prabhupada, like His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj and many other his God brothers. So their staunch desire to reach out the holy name to the world is another additional vector in the same direction of the current of the river of mercy flowing. And if I preach to some 20 boys, what I have to do? Hold the hands of all of them and jump into this river. And this river current of mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Prabhupada and Acharyas, it will just take us back home, back to Godhead. Vayi me ananya vishaya matir madhupate sakrit katim buddh bhagatat adha gange vaugham mudanvati. Like that Kunti Maharani is telling. Like the Ganges, if there's a big log of wood, she will go down or she will go up like this. If there's a big mountain, then she will go by the side. She will find out some way to go to the ocean. Like that, may my mind always flow towards your lotus feet, Krishna. Like that she is praying. So, this is the overflood which Lord Chaitanya has released. And we have to also become expert in releasing the floodgates and distribute this mercy through the transcendental literatures and by preaching, both. And therefore, I was singing the song, Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Karo Krishna, Shiksha. This is the instruction Lord Chaitanya gave. He told, Shuno Shuno Nityananda Shuno Haridas Sarvatra Amara Agnya Koro Ho Prachar Prati Gare Gare Giya Koro Yehi Bhiksha Bolo Krishna Bhajo Krishna Karo Krishna Shiksha. Go door to door, Nityananda Haridas. Batter the door. When people would open, don't ask them anything. Give them the gift of the holy name. Tell them to worship Krishna. Tell them to do puja for Krishna. Tell them to chant the holy name and study the sacred literatures like Gita and Bhagavatam. So this is the order of Lord Chaitanya. So if we simply execute this order, like the recent past, I developed a very deep interest in the Harinam Sankirtan. Because in Hyderabad there is one devotee, last 30 years he is doing Harinam Sankirtan every day, half an hour in the morning, 7 to 7:30. So I started going with him in the last 3-4 months and I became so thrilled. Now I have started also every day, 7 to 7:30 I go in the morning. In case I have some lecture program or something, then I try to attend in the evening, half an hour Gaurarti. So in this way, when I go for Harinam Sangeet in the morning, we go a little faster, we go, so that we can cover a large number of people. And many people going in the bus are peeping outside and watching. Many people standing in the bus stop are waving, raising the hand, or people clap the hands. So in this way, we can reach the holy name to the people. We can reach the holy books of Srila Prabhupada to the people. We can also start Bhakti Vriksha programs in home to home. And I heard that you all do thousands of houses, Damodar program you do every year. This one is Jayapataka Maharaj has started this thing, and then he has been telling us how so many people got connected through this program. So in this way, overflowed the Krishna's movement, Lord Chaitanya's movement everywhere. That was the second point. So here, what is the take home point for us? Here, Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement is like a flood, and we should simply become instruments and become experts in releasing the floodgates, in taking it and reaching it into different places, so that no one is spared. That's our duty. That's the second one. Let's go to the third point. Ambition. So Prabhupada had two ambitions. Do you want to know what are they? One ambition was, he said, I want to transform the entire American population into Vaishnavas, he said. And the second aspiration, he said, that he wanted to see the entire population of the world follow the American people's example of taking to Krishna consciousness, and let the entire world become Krishna conscious. That was second. So you may wonder, oh, what a great ambition Prabhupada had, such a huge ambition, making all Americans into Vaishnavas and the whole world becoming Vaishnavas. You may wonder. When Prabhupada said this, he was not advocating any conversion from one religion to another. That was not what he said. Prabhupada wanted people to give up all the mundane conditionings. Like we say, Anya Bilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karma Janavritam. And then they should become pure devotees of the Supreme Lord, pure spiritualists, lovers of God, giving up all their mundane conditionings. He wanted to bring all the jivas back to their original nature of pure love for God without any motivation or without any interruption. That was his aspiration. So, like here in the beginning, it's written here, a Vaishnava is permitted to be aggressive to achieve his ambition, provided his desire is pure. Docility and preaching go ill together. What is the meaning of this docility? Docility means being very docile and cool and not very serious. That doesn't go well with preaching. And we should not criticize the aggressive preaching mood of a devotee who is determined to fulfill Krishna's will. So sometimes people feel that, why you are so aggressive and passionate? Take it cool. Don't preach so much. First, some people even argue, some preachers, first you should become purified, Prabhu. Otherwise, what will you give the world? In the name of preaching, you are simply becoming fruitive. You are just preaching and expanding. You yourself are not so advanced. Some people argue like that. So I heard about Srila Prabhupada speaking in San Francisco in the San Francisco installation of the Jagannath Baladev Subhadra deities. So a lot of hippies had come to the temple. And Prabhupada was telling them same thing, Jare Deko Tare Kaho Krishna Upadesh. He was telling them. And one boy asked a question to Prabhupada, Swamiji, you are telling us to preach, but we don't know what to preach. We are not knowledgeable like you. So how much time we should read your books, after which you'll be strong enough to preach? Prabhupada said, very simple. Read 2 sentences and preach 2 sentences, Prabhupada said. That's all you have to do. You don't have to be a great Pandita. We don't want people to become scholars. We want them to become bhaktas. We don't want people to, cram shlokas and vomit. We actually want preachers to transform the hearts of the people to whom they are preaching. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, preaching means giving faith in Krishna. Preaching means giving faith in the chanting of the holy name. Preaching means bringing about transformation of heart. So this is preaching. And the preacher need not be a big scholar. You should read Prabhupada books with great transcendental faith, practice it with a wholehearted consciousness, and apply it in daily life. And then reach it out to people. Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Karo Krishna Shiksha. And what should the devotee think in the heart? Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dhana Pran. Krishna is my mother, Krishna is my father, Krishna is my only wealth. Krishna is my be all and end all. Krishna is my life and soul. Like in South India, there is a famous verse. Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva tvameva bandhuscha saka tvameva tvameva vidya dravidam tvameva tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Oh Krishna, you are my mother, you are my father, you are my relative, you are my friend, you are my wealth, you are my education, you are my be all and end all. And I do not have anyone other than you. Your lotus feet are my only shelter. So we should adopt this consciousness within. And without, what we should do? Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Karo Krishna, Shiksha. We should request people, please chant Krishna's names, worship Krishna's deity form, and please kindly read Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and apply it in your life. This is actually what Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are expecting from us, and our spiritual masters expecting from us. So, therefore, even if a young devotee is very spirited to go out door to door, requesting people to chant, requesting people to become devotee, or distributing books, we shouldn't think, like for example, there one couple in our temple who are disciples of His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj in Pune. Every morning you will hear their name in the Mangalarti time. The name will be announced and they distribute 40 books, 40 books every day. Some days even 80, 100 books also. They put a book table. So one day I was returning to Pune NVCC temple. I saw this couple. Husband was carrying the table and wife was carrying the book bag. They are very good partners. And then he will put the table, she will put the books, and they will sit together in two chairs and they'll be distributing. So they have been distributing for years together like that with a relentless enthusiasm. And their ambition is to go on increasing. Now they have a small Nanda Krishna, their small son. He also distributes along with them, with mother and father. So when I was glorifying it in many lectures, when I went here and there, some people said, Prabhu, in Grihastha there should be balance also. You can't just, outrightly go all the time distributing books and everything. So some people say like that, but actually in the name of balance, many times we become stuck at home and the balance never comes. But when we go out to do some Sankirtan activity, husband, wife, children, everybody becomes flooded with bliss. In fact, many times the problems become solved when we go out. When we go out and when we take others' problems on ourselves like parents, by becoming spiritual parents, then our problems are evaporated by Krishna very easily. So, therefore, here he says that if somebody has aggressive, ambitious spirit, we should not criticize it. Like one time in the SSR book you read, two brahmacharis are distributing books in America. One lady saw that these fellows have little aggressive spirit of reaching out Prabhupada's books. She wrote a complaint letter to Prabhupada. Swamiji, these are godly men. They should be a little cool-headed. And why should they distribute the book so aggressively? Why should they push it to the people? Teach your brahmacharis nice, give them nice training that they should let people be in peace and not disturb them. And Prabhupada replied back with a letter to her saying that, Madam, I am in receipt of your letter, thank you. I have taken note of your point. At the same time, remember, the whole world is flooded with people chasing after the mirage of sense gratification. And these people have dedicated their lives and they want to come out in the streets and reach out the transcendental literature to those souls who are chasing after Maya and they are suffering. People are suffocating and drowning in the ocean of Maya. And these people are helping them to come out and go back to Godhead. What wrong did they do? Maybe they are a little immature in speech or behavior, but they are doing the right thing. They are giving the right medicine. Sarva Roga Nivarani. It's a medicine for all diseases, especially Bhava Roga, the disease of repeated birth and death. So please learn to appreciate them. Don't criticize them, Prabhupada told her. So Prabhupada in this way shows, even if a neophyte devotee is making an effort with great ambition to reach out Prabhupada's mission to far and wide, it should be appreciated. So here, as you saw here, 2 points we learned here in ambition. One is, don't criticize the aggressive spirit of devotees to reach out Krishna to others. Appreciate it. And we ourselves should not be docile. We also, even though we may be having spent many years, we should not become lazy devotees or lethargic devotees. We should see the younger ones enthusiastic and we also should become enthusiastic. Appreciate their enthusiasm and we also should become determined and enthusiastic. That's one point we learned. Second point is Prabhupada's 2 ambitions. First ambition is to make entire America into Vaishnavas. Second ambition is to using those Americans spread all over the world and make the whole globe Krishna conscious. So this was Prabhupada's very great ambition. So let's hear the 4th point. is intelligence. What is intelligence? It is power to analyze things in proper perspective. Actually, this article, I got it from His Holiness Sachibudas Maharaj, based on the letter he has written, commentary to that letter. From there I got, he says that, His Holiness Sachibudas Maharaj says, I had accepted my spiritual master's advice to concentrate on book distribution and holding festivals, and was using my intelligence to find the best means for carrying out his order. This is the proper use of intelligence, not to put forward one's own ideas, thinking oneself more intelligent than one's own guru. One who does one who thinks like that is actually no better than a fool. Here is making a very important point. All of you devotees know that when Lord Shiva saw the prachetas coming in the forest for performing penance, he became very delighted. He welcomed them and he became their guru. So, and he gave them Upadesh, Rudra Gita, by singing which they will get darshan of Lord Vishnu. So, after that, it is mentioned, there is one verse which says, that verse says that, Yaduktam pati drishtena girisena prasidata, it comes. It says that when they were going in the forest pathway, they came across Lord Shiva. And then he gave them Upadesh. Tadhyayanto, pujayantascha, japantascha nityada, it says. Three things are said there. After they received instruction from Guru, what they did? Three things. They meditated on it. They repeatedly spoke amongst themselves about it. And they worshipped those instructions. When one receives any instruction from Guru, one should keep it at the highest pedestal in one's heart. Guru has expressed his desire, I should fulfill it. And not only that, one should talk amongst the disciples, called Ishta Goshti, we call it. Ishta Goshti means Guru has told us to do these things. How can we accomplish it? One should talk about it. And worship it means what? Every moment one should think, how can I give shape to his desire? What all arrangements I should do? Like Prabhupada's Guru in the bank of Radhakund told him, if you ever get money, print books. In the first meeting, when Abhay met in Ultaranga Junction, there he met his Guru. His Guru told him, why did you preach in the English language to the Western people? So he took these two instructions. If you ever get money, print books. So Prabhupada established BBT. Why didn't you preach in English language? He started ISKCON society. So he made these two big institutions, ISKCON and BBT, for fulfilling the two instructions of his Guru. His Guru didn't give him details, but Prabhupada made all the details. Like, for example, his Guru never told him what books you should publish, how many, what titles you should publish. He didn't tell him. If you ever get money, print books. And then he did it so well. So even all of us, our Guru has given us some instructions, general instructions through his lectures, sometimes specific instructions when we meet him personally. So under the big umbrella of Guru's instruction, we can have our own smaller umbrellas of innovative ideas, creative ideas, how to give shape to that big instruction which he has given us. So that is the meaning of true intelligence. And then next he says here, there are so many intelligent men in the world today, but because their intelligence is misdirected, their actions simply create problems for others. That's called as dushkritina. No one can be more intelligent than Lord Brahma, but even he exercised caution before utilizing his intelligence to create the material world. So Brahmaji is the first created living being, and he has got 4 heads. His body is made up of intelligence. Can you imagine? His Atmabhu is born from the lotus, and he was directly created by Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu doesn't need anybody's help to beget the child Brahma in the lotus in which he is born. So you see his qualification. Brahma has 4 heads, body made of intelligence, is son of the Supreme Lord. Directly Lord gave him darshan. Lord revealed Vaikuntha planets to him. Lord entrusted him with the instruction of doing Visarga, the secondary creation. And Lord gave him all the knowledge. Jnanam paramaguhyam me yad vijnana samanvitam tad rahasyam tadangam cha grihanagaditam maya. Lord said, take from me, Brahma, I'll give you Vaidhi Bhakti, Raganuga Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, Prem Bhakti, everything I'll give you, all knowledge. So this is Brahma, and he's the first Acharya in the Guru Parampara. But even he is exercising caution, he's saying, before using his intelligence. He's telling the Lord, my Lord, please protect me. I should not fall down when I associate with vicious elements. So we should be in a humble mood of Brahma. And we should not overestimate our own intelligence, or we should not be boastful about how great we are. Rather, our intelligence means our ability to grasp the Guru's instructions and faithfully follow it. That is our intelligence. And we should actually utilize our intelligence to give shape to the Guru's desires. For that, we can use our intelligence, he says. So, the last point mentioned here is the first, one should free oneself of two things: desire for material opulence and sense gratification by performing austerities. Thus, one's intelligence will become useful for fulfilling Krishna's desire. Because we say, these two things: Bhoga Ishwarya Prasaktanam, Kaya Apakrita Chetasam. Bhoga and Aishwarya, material opulence and sense gratification. These two things are big stumbling blocks for a sadhaka. So, Aishwarya means, desirous of big material opulences, big car, big bungalow, big post, big position, fat salary. So, sometimes we become attracted by these things, which is material opulence. And another one is sense gratification, which is prominently sex life, and also, in general, the pleasures, Shabda Sparsha Rasa Rupa Gandha. So, any sense gratification independent of Krishna consciousness is condemned as kama, isn't it? So, these two things, one Bhoga and Aishwarya, samadho na vidyate, he says. We are not able to focus on Guru's instruction because of these two things. So, if you want samadhi, one should vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeh kurunandana. Bhakushakaki anantasya buddhiyo avyavasayana. So, we want vyavasaya buddhi, and further Bhoga Aishwarya should be given up, like that he says. So, now in summary, in this point of intelligence, we learn three things. One is, intelligence means not only you analyze, compare, contrast, evaluate and all that, but use it for and accepting Guru's advice and fulfilling Guru's advice. Don't become an upstart and bring in our own wishy-washy new ideas and spoil the mission of Prabhupada. We should not do that. We should learn to faithfully follow. There was a yellow paragraph. And the blue paragraph, which you see, what that explains here is about Brahma's caution. Despite being a great personality, even with 4 heads and body of intelligence, even Brahma exercised caution. So, we also should exercise caution. The last point was, Bhoga and Aishwarya become stumbling blocks. And if anybody who wants a sharp intelligence and a singular focus, such a person should avoid Bhoga and Aishwarya. Instead of Krishnendriya Priti Cha Dhare Premana, it is said. The prema means make an effort to please Guru and Krishna. Use all material opulences and sanctify them by utilizing them in Lord's service. So, in this way, this is about the 4th point. And then the 5th point you can see here, expansion, Vardhanam, means to increase or expand, Anandambadi Vardhanam. So, Krishna conscious movement, when it expands, both Guru and Krishna become very happy. This dynamic growth is an aspect of spiritual life, and that is also present in the spiritual world, where relationship between Krishna and his pure devotees increases always. Activities performed in this material world tend to become diminished, but because devotion service is transcendental to the material world, it is unaffected by time and other material circumstances. See, when Srila Prabhupada was in Mayapur one time, His Holiness Ramakrishna Maharaj brought some 70 devotees. And Prabhupada told them, you see, some people asked me, why am I making this long building? Even today it's called as long building in Mayapur. Prabhupada said, because I know that more and more devotees will come. You have brought 70 devotees. Are they all fitting in? Well, Prabhupada asked, yes, Prabhupada. So evening he brought all the devotees out in the garden. Prabhupada was standing and they all came and sat in front of Prabhupada. The Prabhupada was telling, this long building is going to become even more longer, he said. It will become even more longer. And Prabhupada was saying that, when Matsyavatar originally came, he was very small. And then he told that king, why don't you please take me from the small pond and put me in a lake? Later on he said, why don't you put me in an ocean? He became bigger and bigger and bigger. So Prabhupada said, you put Krishna anywhere, he has to become big. That's the very nature of Krishna. Krishna keeps on expanding. He can never be contracted. Krishna's opulences are increasing, his beauty is increasing, his joy is increasing, it's ever increasing phenomenon. You put Krishna anywhere, he will expand. Prabhupada said, like Matsyavatar expanded. So similarly, here also there is a point here. In the material world, if you perform certain activities, they may eventually become diminished over time. But where there is Krishna, those activities always expand. Like you will see that like one devotee Mm. I remember in those days when Srivalla Prabhu, when he had gone to the Gulf in the very early days, and then he was starting the children program. uh, and then gradually things picked up, it grew up. So you will see that then many of you became Yatra leaders. And in each of the Yatra leaders in their respective places, they reached out through Damodar program and children programs. And in this way, Krishna consciousness flood is increasing more and more. Because one Prabhupada says, one good soul is good enough, Prabhupada says in one letter. When Prabhupada was putting 7 devotees in 7 places in America, he told Sasipudas Maharaj that you go to Boston. He told you go to Santa Fe, and you go to San Francisco, you go to New York. Like that Prabhupada was allotting. So one man saw that and said, Swamiji, if you send away devotees like this, your movement will become thin, he said. Prabhupada said, I don't agree with you, Prabhupada said. He said, one good soul is good enough. If I put one devotee in that one center, he will make 100 devotees, Prabhupada said. And that's what many of you did. You wonderfully preached in your respective places and you expanded. In the same manner, this is expansion, which is very pleasing to the heart of Guru and Krishna. Prabhupada says that Krishna likes to see his number of devotees increased in the material world and sent back to Godhead. So recently, here he says, recently one Australian newspaper noted that Hare Krishna movement is recession proof, which means while the whole world is experiencing trouble, our movement is expanding by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, like the Prabhupada said. Double it, Prabhupada used to say every year. Even during the COVID also, a lot of online programs expanded, isn't it? So ISKCON preaching became a dozen times more. People preached to thousands and lakhs of people during this COVID period. So while the whole world was in a state of gloom that, there are loss of profits and everything, ISKCON's preaching multiplied by a dozen times. Because devotees who have sincerity to take this movement to far and wide people, Krishna gives them, facility and empowerment for them to do it. Yeah. So this is the 4th point about expansion, he says. That means expansion is dear to the heart of Guru and Krishna, and we should also take part in it. And then the last point, 6th point is recognition. To draw the attention of Krishna is the goal of spiritual life. The best and easiest way to do this is preaching Krishna consciousness, as the Lord himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita. Achatasman manusheshu kashchin me priyakrittamaha, he says. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. If despite one's shortcomings and personal difficulties, one nevertheless tries to give Krishna consciousness to others, the Lord becomes obliged to such a person and quickly recognizes him. I know many Prabhujis, Matajis, in their home, their situation is not very favorable. They have an old father who is bedridden. Sometimes the children are going to school and coming back and they have to be attended to. And the husband has some ailment in the body. So you will see that there are many Matajis who are working very hard, cook prasadam for the programs. Similarly, there are many Prabhujis who are still preaching without making any complaints about the household problems. You will see that. So, if Krishna sees that here is my devotee, his health is not very good, or his financial situation is not very good, or there are practical domestic problems at home, and he has to fulfill many material duties. Despite that, this devotee's interest to please me, serve me, has not reduced even a bit. And this is very pleasing to Krishna. Then Krishna feels obliged to you. And then Krishna feels like you. I see that many of you in the Gulf, when you become eventually retired from job and you return to India, I observed that devotees have tremendous fiery preaching spirit. I observed that. Even though some of them may be old, some of them may be 60. That I found when people return to India. So that's a very nice sign. It's a very good sign that you have been practicing all these years there in Gulf. When you come to India, then you can continue your preaching very nicely. So one time, Tamaksha Maharaj in Mayapur Dham was approached by some of the disciples of Prabhupada who told that, see, we have been with Prabhupada preaching last 10 years or so. We are thinking whether we can retire in Mayapur now. Like that they were talking to Tamaksha Maharaj. And Tamaksha Maharaj went to Prabhupada to talk about it. He asked, Prabhupada, when can a devotee retire? and stay in Mayapur Dham or Vrindavan Dham. Prabhupada said, you see, a Vaishnava devotee means they should travel all over the world and vigorously preach the philosophy of Krishna consciousness and chanting of the holy name. They should do it all their life. And when they become very old, extremely old, so much so that body is trembling, then they may not be even able to move from one place to another. Then they can sit down in the dham. At that time, they can't move anywhere. They can just chant the holy name. And Prabhupada said, as far as I am concerned, I don't think I have become old. Therefore, I am traveling. Like that Prabhupada said. When Prabhupada said that, Tamaksha Maharaj laughed and he told the disciples, if Prabhupada says he is not old, and you guys are all 20, 25, 30, better don't ask this question to Prabhupada, he said. And all of them went back to their respective places and engaged in preaching. So, in Pune also, there is one very powerful couple that are preaching. So recently, that couple came to me and asked, Prabhu, we are thinking of taking house in Vrindavan. Now we are already 50 plus, they were saying. We thought whether we can settle in Vrindavan. I told them, you should not leave Pune and go to Vrindavan until 90. I told them. After 90 only you can go. You stay and preach. And I told them what Prabhupada said. So we should vigorously preach. Prabhupada, even at the age of 70 to 81, 82 or so, in that age group, Prabhupada was preaching. So we also should not lose the spirit as we get older. Old is gold, as we say. The more older you become in Krishna consciousness, the more richer your consciousness. Then that is the time you are like a ripe mango. You should give the juice to everybody. Why do you want to go in Dham and enjoy yourself? So I also, till my last breath, I would like to continue practicing and preaching, reaching out to people. And we don't have to worry about going back to Godhead. That our Guru Maharaj will take care. Guru and Krishna, it is their job to take us back to Godhead. Our job is to follow their instruction. That should be our focus. So, here he says, see the blue paragraph, when Lord Brahma completed his penance and meditation for the purpose of material creation, the Lord very much appreciated his efforts and personally came to congratulate Brahma. Do you know this? After Brahma performed the penance, Lord gave him 4 blessings, 4 special gifts Lord gave him. The first is appreciation. First is revelation. The Lord revealed his lotus feet. Then the Lord showed the dhoti, golden dhoti. Then he saw the jeweled belt. Then he saw the Lord's bluish sapphire-like body and 4 blue arms. And then he saw the Shankha Chakra Gada Padma in the arms. Then he saw the Lord's beautiful smiling face with mukut and kundal. And when Brahma saw that, Brahma was thrilled by seeing that form. So that is, and then Lord, not only that, Lord revealed the Vaikuntha planets also to him. So, and all the Vaikuntha Vasis were flying in airplanes. Brahma saw everything. That is revelation. And then the Lord came forward to Brahma and smiled at him. My dear son, you have performed such a good penance. You have pleased me and satisfied me. So Lord took both his hands and he shook his hands. Prabhupada says that the first handshake of the universe, after which all the managers are shaking the hands of the subordinates. They have learned it from Lord Vishnu. So that means Lord gave appreciation. So revelation, appreciation, and then Lord told him that now I want to give you a responsible position. I made you my son. So you should transmit 2 things. You should do secondary creation and you should pass the Vedas down to all the jivas in Guru Parampara. Both this work I want to entrust to you. He gave him a very responsible position. And fourthly, he gave him benedictions. Now you can ask me for any benediction you wish. I can provide you. So, revelation, appreciation, responsible position, benediction. So Brahma was given those 4 things because Lord was pleased with him. In the same manner, Prabhupada says, anyone preaching the mission of the Lord in the line of Brahma Sampradaya is always dear to the Lord. And the Lord, being satisfied with such a preacher of the authorized bhakti cult, shakes hands with him in great satisfaction, he says. So Prabhupada is extending it to all of us. All of us will get that handshake of the Lord, Prabhupada is saying. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya has already given us the, you see, vision. Prithivitaya chayat nagaradigram sarvatra prachara habamaranam. The Lord desires that all over the world, everyone in every town and village know of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his Sankirtan movement. So the last slide. In all of Prabhupada's letters, came the repeated encouragement to travel village to village, introducing our transcendental literature. And wherever we could go, not go personally, the books would find their way on their own, as was the case with the person whom Prabhupada had met in Tokyo airport. Lord Chaitanya himself engaged in traveling village to village and encouraged his followers to do the same. Following Lord Chaitanya's footsteps, Srila Prabhupada never tired of traveling from one country to another, even despite the inconveniences of old age. All the members of ISKCON, not only sannyasis, should realize that such traveling is highly beneficial for developing detachment from the bodily conception of life in the form of family, home, and all those things. Our domestic problems evaporate when you travel and preach and make devotees. Therefore, the temple should organize regular traveling Sankirtan parties, he's saying. And in this way, and then the yellow para below, you see, sometimes on television or in magazines, we see news coverage of nations at war, like Ukraine and Russia, and like that. And it is not uncommon to see every woman and children bearing arms and taking part in the fighting. In America and Vietnam war, even husband and wife together they went to the battle. Do you know that? So they had to, husband and wife are willing to lay down their life. So if they are ready to go and lay down their lives, can't we carry Srila Prabhupada books and reach to the people? Can't we start preaching programs, husband and wife? Like in our temple, I asked once in a big assembly, how many of you families would like to host a weekly program in your house, a Bhakti Vriksha program in your house? So there were around, at that time there were around 20, 30 hands up, coming up. Of course, some Prabhujis were raising hand and slowly turning to Mataji's side. And the wife was giving them subtle instructions with their movement of their eyes. Hey, don't take responsibility. You will agree for the program and I have to cook prasadam. So, of course, therefore, husband and wife only together only they can make this preaching program successful. Without wife's support, husband cannot make a program successful. Husband and wife are like, one soul in two bodies. They are one unit like Ardhanarishwar. If both are enthusiastic, then only the family can make the spiritual preaching very powerful. It's possible. Cooperation is required. Therefore, any Prabhuji who is a successful preacher should not be proud that I am a great preacher. He should share 50% credit with wife also. So, equal credit they also deserve. So, therefore, he is saying here that in the same manner, similarly, all the members of ISKCON, men and women, young and old, should learn the methods of Sankirtan, which they should practice at regular intervals so that when the need arises during the Sankirtan marathons, they will be sufficiently prepared for fighting. So Srila Prabhupada considered this traveling as bringing the temple to the people. Actually, in many places like Gulf, you don't have temple, but you have made your home into a temple. And you also have come together as congregation and very practicing so strictly and strongly. It's very, it's sending out signals to the whole world. How it is possible for a group of devotees. Prabhupada says temples are not as important as bringing people together in Sankirtan. Prabhupada writes in one letter. We may build a big temple, but if the big temple is like a football ground, Kali, nobody is coming there, what's the use? On the contrary, even in a house, if you can gather 50, 100 people together and chant the holy names and hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, you have achieved the purpose of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. And in Gulf, so many Bhakti Vriksha groups, you all have been practicing and preaching. It's a very laudable example. A compassionate devotee, seeing the fallen nature of such conditioned souls, brings Krishna to them. And thus everyone is given an opportunity. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you very much.